Good morning, everybody. It is now 9:30, and so I'll call to order the Regional Public Transport Committee. Can I ask you all to make sure your cell phones are turned to silent? And just from a health and safety perspective, anyone new here, if we have to evacuate for any reason, there's 3 doors, 1, 2, or down the stairs out the back. We meet across the road, just outside the building, if that's our evacuation spot. Otherwise, it's just the normal drop, cover and hold and pray. I think that's all. So just, we've got some, I'll come to the introductions of the new members in a minute, but just live streaming. I remind members and staff that the public section of this meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and that the recording will be made available on the Bay of Plenty Regional Council website following the meeting. I also remind all present that local government decision-making affords no protection to councillors, council officers and the public for comments made during the meetings that are subsequently challenged in the court of law and determined to be slanderous. So with that happy note, I would like to first of all welcome Susan Collins from NZTA, who is a first time I've met Susan. So Susan, would you like to introduce yourself and just tell us where you're based and what you do?
Oh, sure, kia ora.
Just if you're speaking, can you just press the button and make sure the mic's relatively close to you?
Yep, I think I've got it. Kia ora, Susan Collins, New Zealand Transport Agency, based in Tauranga. I look after the local government partnerships teams for the Waikato and Bay of Plenty.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this is the first meeting where we have our new Director of Public Transport, Ollie. So welcome, Ollie, and goodbye, Mike. Mike has now crossed the divide and works for Tauranga City Council. So he's gone to the dark side, but we're really happy that he has, and that only in that it will help have a better collaboration and understanding at both regional and Tauranga City levels from a staff perspective. So I think it's a win-win, to be honest. So welcome, Mike, in your new role. Apologies. The apologies I have are Commissioner Stephen Selwood, Commissioner Bill Wasley, Mayor Tanya Tapsell, Councillor Ken Shirley, and Conor O'Brien, Councillor at Rara. Are there any further apologies?
So moved, Chairman.
So moved and second by Mayor Denia. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. We do have on Zoom, we've got Councillor Thompson. Anyone else? No, just Councillor Thompson on Zoom, who's thing.
Councillor Crosby.
Oh, and Councillor Crosby. So we've got 2 on Zoom. Councillor Thompson does have voting rights. It's with pleasure now we do the public forum, and I'm going to ask Carol Gordon to come forward and present to the public forum. Carol, you have 10 minutes, including question time, but we'll just see where we go. We're okay.
Kia ora tātou. I'm pleased to be here.
Speaker on.
Kia ora tātou. I'm pleased to be here this morning, particularly to congratulate the PT committee in particular and the regional council on the increased patronage of the public transport system. I think that that's a pleasing step in the history of the public transport provision, and well done. Of course, it includes the uptake from the on-demand service. And you'll see, as I believe you've all got a copy of my presentation today, that I'm still asking for more. I feel like Oliver. Because our ageing population is growing in number. I noticed in the stats that the percentage in Tauranga City isn't as high as I would expect for the seniors travelling on, for the elders travelling on public transport, and I think that's notable. This morning I would like to speak particularly to equity, that throughout the world the focus on, in terms of policy change, the economic and social emphasis is on equity across all change. And so I've raised the question of maximising the Eastern Bay and provision of small towns public transport in this presentation. So I'm asking how we will transition now. We've got a Success Place platform to work on, and the challenge is to increase that capacity in the East, because as you will see, the demographics show that that's a necessity. I don't need, I think, to explain to you that the return on investment from public transport accessibility is so significant. We hardly need to talk about health cost savings. It's an additional view shaft of the economy that some of you will remember me by talking about the silver economy and the value add of older people in our community if we enable them. So how can we build on community initiatives that already exist? We know that older people have initiated community transport systems for themselves in many of our communities. They run a little community bus, they manage it and organise it themselves, and it serves their local needs. I'm trying to take that forward now as a formal support system to enable that to grow. So let's plan a new paradigm for community connectivity. And I'd like to comment that the research internationally on how you live well to over 100 years old that comes from Okinawa and the Blue Zone, as you all heard of, communities around the world, that when you look at past the healthy eating and exercise, that the key thing that is about their survival is their sociability. So in that context, community connectivity is a critical factor. So I just think it's timely to start the story. I know that your policy platforms don't happen overnight. I'm not expecting you to turn the world around tomorrow, but I am charging you with the potential to start looking at this issue so that we're ready for the next review whenever that is. I've lost track of all of that. So I really want to comment on sustainability, that longevity drives new mobility options, and we can avert the increasing cost of total mobility if we enable communities, and if we do use the view shaft of the hyperlocal or 20-minute community and people managing their mobility themselves, which gives a role to elders. It shifts the dynamic of dependency into active ageing. So that links us to co-design, which will bring new efficiencies because we meet the needs more appropriately. And so, of course, we know that social connectivity reduces loneliness and healthcare costs. But the principle that I'm really speaking to today on equity is leave no one behind. And I'd hate to see our smaller communities in the East having to be closed like in the future, like they have had to do in Japan. So let's keep them alive, let's keep them buzzing and enable them. So let's give them a bus. let's give them a little electric flat 4 bus and let them run the service. The cost of 8 buses is negligible to the overall cost of running a total public transport system. The community and enabling elders to do that gives them a role and function that they love. They'll do the rest. They've already proved that they can and that they do manage the transport needs of their little community. So there are people willing to stand up, I'm sure. He looks a bit cheeky. I don't know whether I'd trust him as a driver. So let's quickly run through, so I'm mindful of time. Let's run through what that increased longevity means across our district. So you'll see how in this Bay of Plenty slide, the 65 plus, even though I hate saying that, 65 to 100 plus years is a bit faint. It's the yellow line, as you can see. And you'll see the pattern there is reflected where there's no increase in younger people on the bottom line through the various slides. They're very interesting in their differences. So population ageing now is, and most of our communities have more elders than children. And that's not going to change, except pretty much in Tauranga City. I forecast that the increase in Maori babies will challenge our demographic planning in the years to come and will parallel the increase in the number of elders. But it's a bit of a way off, but it is an increasing number and not a declining number as the rest of the world experiences because of our Maori population, and increasingly the Indian population. So the 2023 census reflects that shift in our area. One of the areas that I'd like to talk to you another day about is the longevity dividend, and that's the social return on investment by investing in our elders. It's an interesting social compact model, widely understood, that the more we enable elders, the less it costs and the more they can contribute. And mobility is a key factor in that, and that's why I think it's worth another conversation. So here we've got the Western Bay of Plenty with its high growth rate and very little shift in other demographics. So we've got children on the bottom, young adults in the middle, older adults at the top, and then the rising curve of 65 to 100 years. That's going to go up exponentially, and it will get older and older that you can't see in that line, and that's the dilemma of calling it 65 plus, which I've called for a disaggregation of data in order to show that. You'll remember, some of you, at the beginning of Smart Growth, we had a little mantra, the 4 points of Smart Growth, that said, and 85 plus will quadruple by 2030. So you can imagine that as 2030 rolls on, because the baby boomers will be 85 in 2031. They're 80 in 2026. So that's why I'm sitting here talking about community buses. So Western Bay is very high, Opotiki equally with a different shape. You'll see the decline in the age groups. And so the longevity economy becomes a critical factor in the Opotiki construct. I'm sorry that some of the other members aren't here to have this conversation today. And Whakatane, similar to the Bay of Plenty profile, with decline in children and decline in the 15 to 40 age group. Rotorua is an interesting anomaly because it has more people in the mid-age age group, so you can see the differences. And Kawerau is a story of its own that Mr. Kawerau knows all about. But you know, the people have tried the community buses, and this is where we're at, and so we need to talk about it. So the world is designing efficient mobility. I've talked to you before, 10 years ago, I think I started talking about automated electric flat floor buses. We must move to flat floor buses to keep people mobile. And so buying 8 flat floor buses as a bulk buy surely must be possible. So let's plan to invest in timely solutions. What about 8 flat floor shuttles? Because people have demonstrated the need, and your statistics now are showing that the on-demand bus service is efficient. It's the right and fair thing to do because we're going to have so many more people over 80 with mobility problems. That will cost the total mobility service instead of investing in their independence. They are becoming older and need a ride. So we need more of those little buses, aren't they cute? Everybody wakes up older every day, so let's do the reality check. It's us as well. So let's move forward. I really want to suggest that somehow or other in your processes, you start to talk about this idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. It's always good to hear from you. You have put a perspective that others don't. You've your expertise. I'll be interested in your comments on that census. You did say that Tauranga is an outlier, in that the elderly is not going like you're projecting based on the census. It's actually the 20 to 35s that are actually
Getting on the bus.
Well, no,
That's good.
I'm just talking about growing.
Oh,
In the census data that we've got.
the city will continue to grow. That won't change.
Yeah.
It will, and so it will gradually get older.
Yeah.
And so that's why people need mobility right across our region, right across New Zealand. I want to comment that I have praised the initiatives of the Bay Plenty Regional Council at the national level in terms of the on-demand buses, because I have a role with the United Nations Decade on Healthy Ageing as a strategic advisor to the New Zealand program. And so I have opportunity to praise things that happen here.
Thank you. We are going to have a presentation on the on-demand today, and it's really exciting. Any questions or clarification only? Thanks. Chair.
Thank you, Carol, for that very thought-provoking presentation and your consideration for the smaller Eastern Bay towns. Both myself and my fellow councillor both live in literally isolated towns, so I'm very much aware of the issues that you have raised. My question is, should we, I mean, these platform buses look absolutely brilliant. Have we got a costing on them?
No, it's not my field. I'm sure we could research it, but you know, some of your staff would learn from that experience, and it would be very good work to do.
I've got Councillor Thurston and then Councillor Mees.
Thanks, Chairman. Carol, I just wanted to thank you for being here today. You've presented to this committee and to the Regional Transport Committee on a number of occasions, and you're an acknowledged voice for a rapidly ageing population and for the disability sector, and for that I take my hat off to you. In terms of disability, you know, as we all know, and I wax lyrical about this, 1 in 5 of us in the Bay of Plenty have a disability that impacts on our daily life. So, you know, for many, public transport is a fundamental option. So, but Chairman, to you, in terms of Carol's call for community-led co-design, and the disability sector's call and the ageing sector's call for nothing about us without us. Can Oliver or you update us on where our community engagement is at the moment with drawing on the expertise and lived experiences of these individuals?
I will get Oliver to talk about that in the chairman's report. I think it's the best place for that one. Thank you. Councillor Neves?
Thank
And then
you,
we have
Chair.
to move on.
In our report, I noted somewhere about the on-demand service, that a lot of the bookings are made via the app, as opposed to ringing in on telephone lines, etc. It's been my observation that many older people actually do struggle as they get older using technology, not necessarily because they have never used it before, but it just becomes more difficult as they get increasingly
It is
older
very
to
difficult.
manage that eyesight, various reasons. So have you got any insights as to what would need to be in place to support this sort of network of small buses to enable people to access them?
Well, two points. I can't even manage the Tauranga City parking app. I want to be able to park my car and not have to carry loose change, but anyway, but the second part of your question is in terms of managing for going forward. The communities are already doing it. They ring up and make a little booking and book their local little busing arrangements. So I don't think we should be hasty in losing those options and moving totally to an app situation. But over time, the continuous ageing of the population, people will have more skills. So I don't think we should also denigrate older people or assume that they can't manage, because some people find it incredibly challenging to spend the time to manage, and that becomes a challenge that is rewarding. So it's a mixture on that spectrum, really.
Carol, thank you very much for presenting to us. We always appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Okay, we're moving on. Items not on the agenda, there are none. Order of business, there's no change. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest? There are none. Let's go to the next one. Public excluded business to be transferred to the open. There's nothing at this stage for that, is there? Minutes. The minutes are on page 9 of your report. Would someone like to first of all move that they are a true and correct record, and then they'll be open to discussion? Mayor Denia, Councillor Nee, seconded. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Is there anybody, any issues you want to raise in those minutes? There appears to be none. We'll move on to the minutes of the Public Transport Joint Committee workshop on the 28th of February and the Joint Committee on full meeting on the 1st of May. I'm happy to move both of those as I was there as a true and correct record. Can someone second them pro forma, please?
Second pro forma.
Thank you. Moved and seconded by Councillor Thurston pro forma. All in favour, please say aye. Again,
Chairman, just in terms of process, do we just receive these minutes for information?
Yes.
Just for information only?
yes, the delegated authority for the joint committee is to the regional council for sign-off. We don't have delegated authority for anything financial, so any decisions have to go to our full council, but we bring them via ear, so that we get you get a good feel for what's going on, because it is after all part of the whole region. So that's the process there. So any discussion on any of those minutes? There being none, we've got now the Arataki report presentation. Ollie, are you doing that? Oh, yes, you are.
Yes, through you, Chair. Pleased to bring to you the Arataki report today, and there's an accompanying presentation which will be on the screen shortly.
And as Carol Gordon said, this is all good news story stuff. I just want to take, as chair, to thank staff for all the work that you've done, because it's not easy. Nobody suggests it's easy. We're not the experts as governors, and we rely on you to actually do the operational one. And I think the figures are starting to show that you're on top of your game, so that's good.
That's very gracious of you to say. Thank you, Chair. So through you, patronage is a very positive story across the region compared to Q3 last year. We're up 22.1%. To put that into absolute figures, that is almost 860,000 extra customers boarding our services over that quarter. So a real good news story there. And if we look at total mobility, that is also up as well, over 30%. So another fantastic story. It's very hard to whittle that back to specific factors, but when staff have looked into this, and anecdotally as well from what we've heard from our customers, it seems to be linked back to cost of living. We've seen fuel costs increase, we've seen paid parking costs change, and the availability of parking become more challenging. And what that has done is it has made public transport a more competitive and attractive option for people. And we're hearing more stories of people giving public transport a go, seeing that it is a viable mode, especially to get into work, into Tauranga CBD, and adopting it at least a couple of days a week. So hugely positive. If we split that out by types of service, you can see that this isn't something that is contained to Tauranga. This good news is spread around the region. Tauranga Urban is up 35%. Our intra-regional services, 33%. Western, so that's out to Rimokoroa and Katikati, 19%. Rotorua, 13%. And the Eastern Bay network, 16%. So we're certainly spreading the good news there. It's worth noting at this point that these numbers currently do not include the patronage numbers for on-demand. So this is on-demand is on top of this, and we hope that at the next committee meeting we'll be able to bring you all of those numbers together. But we are just going through some challenges with mashing all of that data together at this point. School patronage is also up, and that's up 12%. The graph on the right there just shows you the breakdown of our demographic of customers. So you can see that 28% of our customers are adults. And then just following on from Carol's presentation, you can see that 15% of our current patrons on services are seniors. This chart shows year-on-year growth trends by month. And I thought this was quite interesting to show that this isn't a blip. This isn't one amazing month we've had that has skewed the annual stats. We're seeing substantial growth month on month. The only place where things look a bit funny is March, and that's because of the shifting of Easter timings. But you can see that across the year, both in Tauranga and Rotorua, every single month is higher than the same month in the previous year. Moving on to accessible transport. We had 26,000 total mobility trips taken last quarter. That is a 3% decrease on the previous quarter. Given that decrease is quite small, that could be down to just how days fell within that quarter and proportion of weekends and whatnot. We've got almost 5,000 active registered total mobility scheme members as of the end of March. And we received over 300 new applications last quarter for the scheme. The PTC gave us direction to present costs in a more transparent way for total mobility. So that's what you see in the bottom left of the slide there. So there you can see in the light blue That is the regional council's contribution to total mobility costs. The green is what we are able to access from the SURF funding, which makes up a good proportion. And then on top there is the funding assistance contribution that we get from NZTA. So hopefully that provides a bit more transparency, especially in what the regional council is contributing to that service. On the right, we've got our accessibility concession stats. So we had over 31,000 trips taken using our accessibility concession. So you can see that is a very well utilised and valued product that we offer on our services. Customer experience. So the team dealt with over 5,600 public transport related tickets. You can see that the majority of the inquiries were queries relating to timetables, V-cards, or general bus, and 9% of those were complaints. As you would probably expect, a proportion of those complaints related to late running or delayed services. So bottom left there, you can see the repeat offenders in terms of our services that are struggling with missed trips. Those routes are probably not unfamiliar to you. These are the ones that usually appear on this slide. So you've got the 55 and the 40, which use Cameron Road, the 5, which comes over the Harbour Bridge, the 1 on Devonport, and the 70 that goes around Martua. Those are all buses that have to navigate known pinch points on the network, and hopefully are places where we will see improvements in bus priority over the coming years, which will allow those services to run much more to time and meet our customers' expectations. So just to finish with some high-level financials. So generally speaking, we're in a favourable position. We're tracking just under £1.5 million ahead of where we hope. However, in reality, we're probably about on target. So the reason that things are looking favourable from an accounting perspective is because we've spent a little less, but that also means that we've had a little less revenue through from Waka Kotahi to subsidise that spending. So generally speaking, a good story from a financial perspective. So that brings me to the end of the presentation, but more than happy to take questions around Arataki reporting.
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions up. Just before we do questions, can I commend staff again? Appendix 3, I think it is, which is giving some financial on a per route basis, which we've been asking for a while, and it's really good to see those figures, so we can actually see what routes are working and what aren't. And we'll talk about it more in the on-demand, but you'll see on page 49 that the 51 route Pies Par was showing only a 5% recovery rate for us from fares, and that's the one that we've changed to the on-demand. And if my memory is correct, it was something like 200 patrons a month using the 51, and we're now talking about 760 a week using the on-demand service. So we'll hear more about that, but it's really pleasing to see these so that we can actually get a better insight into the routes, because it's not until you get into the weeds that you can actually understand the transport system, and it's complex and there's a lot of data to go through to get this, so thank you, appreciate it. Now, we've got Mayor Denia and then Councillor Nees, I think. Any others? We'll start there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question about accessible transport from me. I just wondered why the journey numbers in the Eastern and Western Bay were so low compared to Tauranga City, given that obviously it's always going to be larger population, but on a per capita basis, it's a lot lower in the Eastern and Western Bay.
So through you, Chair, partly that's due to population numbers. And the other will be the number of providers and their ability to carry passengers. So I can certainly make sure that we talk a bit more about that next time we deliver the Arataki report.
It seems to me that in the East and Western Bay, there's probably fewer opportunities for normal public transport, as it were. And it'd be nice if that was, if people needed accessible transport, can use it.
Councillor Nees?
Thank you. Just a query on our fare box recovery on page 36. I note that Tauranga Bay Hoppe has a 14% fare recovery, which surprised me. I thought it was a free service to use.
Sorry, Councillor Nees, would you mind just repeating the last?
Page 36, the second column from the right, Tauranga Bay Hopper Schools to March 2024 is a 14% fare recovery.
That could well be to do with subsidies received.
Is that reflected in fare box?
I will have to take that away and double check for you.
Thank you. That would be great to get that clarified. Also, with regard to the unpunctual or missed trips, are they mostly at peak? Is that, when the traffic builds up and the congestion is the greatest, that most of the trips are missed because of the slowness of the bus network?
Yes, that's correct. And then you do have a knock-on effect after the peak as well. So a late running bus or a cancelled bus during the peak, it could take a couple of hours for that bus to catch up with where it should be. But yes, they are predominantly limited to peak times.
Oh, and just actually one more. There was a comment that the Katikati to Tauranga interregional numbers had dropped. And I just wondered if we got any insight as to why that happened. That's on page 44.
Not off the top of my head, but I can come back to you with an answer on that.
Be great. Thank you.
Councillor Howes?
Thank you, Chair. Just in response to Mayor Denya's concern regards the lower support by Eastern Bay. Just for the record, Waka Eastern Bay were one of the three that were successful in applying for the disability contract within the regional council. So we're set, ready to go. We're just waiting for the installation of the necessary recordings and what have you to go in place, and then we will be hitting the road running. So again, very aware of the shortcomings over in the Eastern Bay, and moving towards solving that problem.
Thank you. There be no one else? Oh, Councillor Thurston.
Chairman, much has been made of the cost of living and its influence on PT, making it a competitive, viable option, but have we got some updated stats in terms of the Western Bay of Plenty with regards congestion and people choosing to use public transport to avoid getting stuck in traffic? I got somewhat shot down in flames by Councillor Nees talking about slow buses. I wished you hadn't. But have we got some updated stats in terms of people actually choosing to use public transport to avoid the congestion in the Western Bay of Plenty?
So through you, Chair, we anecdotally, we are aware that people are making an informed choice to use public transport. We are seeing tentative improvements in statistics such as MoShare. However, it's very difficult to measure those over a short period of time. It is something that we have made a commitment to try and monitor to support the delivery of the draft RLTP. So it is something that staff will be looking to form a accurate and measurable KPI on, so we can give you a much more in-depth understanding of the impact that we're having today.
Thank you. There be no further discussion on that. There's a recommendation to receive the report on page, receives the report, Arataki, blah, blah, blah. Or who's going to move that for me? Councillor Neves and Councillor Thurston. All in favour, please say aye. It's carried. We move on to the chair's report. It's page 53.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's with me again. So through you, I will take the Chair's report broadly as read. So a couple of things just to bring to your attention. The Chair's report goes into a bit of detail around how Transport is choosing to structure its work programme. And you'll see that we've established 6 focus areas. Those being regional planning, which covers our statutory obligations, commercial and contract management, which I want to touch on a little bit more in a second, revenue funding and investment planning, service improvements, business improvements, and new services and products. Probably the most significant thing facing the team at the moment is the raft of contracts with bus operators which are due to expire. In fact, between now and 2027, all of our contracts are up for renewal. And there is a huge amount of work to do to understand what we want from the next round of contracts with operators and making sure that we procure those in a sustainable way that delivers both value for money for the ratepayer, but also a level of service that our communities deserve. So we formed a project team around that, and you're likely to see that be an item that is repeatedly coming in front of you over the coming years. So we look forward to going on that journey with you. I would also like to give you a substantial update on the progress of the on-demand trial, and I've got a presentation to take you through that. Before I do, I wonder if I take any other general questions around the Chair's report, and then we can go straight into on-demand.
Thank you. I recognise Councillor Thurston, but first I'm going to ask you, with the updated GPS, is there a 9-year requirement for a contract like we had back in 2016?
So it's not the GPS that would ultimately stipulate that. So you might have heard the acronym SPTF, which is the Sustainable Public Transport Framework, which replaces PTON, which is effectively the framework that governs how we procure and contract services. The SPTF is something that was instigated by the previous government, and the new government are looking to what we've heard maintain aspects of that, but we're still waiting for final direction in terms of what the SPTF means for us. Certainly, the will of the previous government was it put more onus on councils to decide what way of contracting works best for them to deliver the type of service that the individual regions needed. So we'll need to understand how much of that is retained and what the updated guidance is from the new government. But the team is very well placed to react to whatever final guidance we receive.
I think we need to influence that. When I look at the contract for Tauranga, for instance, when we initiated that contract, we made the decision we were looking for 10 electric buses, and we decided initially to go to 5 to see how that went. But what we're finding as we get further down, it was okay under COVID or before at the start of the service, when it was pre-COVID actually, that they were struggling to keep up. So we had good influence on the contractor, but we seem to be held over a barrel at this latter stage of the contract, and which has implications for for being innovative, and that if we take a bus off a route, there can be a substantial cost in the contract, and that's something we have to somehow build into the future to prevent that happening, so that innovation isn't lost because of. Have you got any comment on that?
So we're currently going through and looking at and what is important to us as a regional council from our new contracts, what we want to achieve. The ability to remain dynamic is very much front of mind, and making sure that we enter into contracts that enable us to be dynamic. So yes, this will be an ongoing conversation to understand the will of this committee and the aspiration of this committee as we move forward into those new contracts.
Susan, have you got any comment on that topic at all? Just something for, if you haven't, it's something that you could actually just see if you can't get. Report back to our next meeting, so we have a better understanding of it, because it is a substantial issue.
No comment at this stage, but I can definitely come back to the next meeting with an update for you.
Thank you, Susan. Councillor Thurston. And then
Chairman, my questions were around the community forum, but I'm happy to take it after Olga's done the presentation on demand, so happy to take it after this, if you so wish.
I will take that question now, if I may.
Oliver, can I just jump in? One, I'd like to know how it's going. Was it established? Because I would like to consider myself as a champion for community-led co-design and being part of a family that lives with these sort of experiences on a daily basis. So, and knowing the value of engaging people with lived experiences. So I'm really keen to know when the community forum was established, how it's going, and what the selection process was in terms of reference, etc. So thanks.
So historically, we have had a formal community forum. The forum ultimately stopped meeting as COVID-19 swept across the bay. Unfortunately, then didn't meet during that period, and then has since not met. And my understanding is was effectively dissolved as we reached the end of the previous triennium. Staff have been taking a project by project approach to consultation. So as we look to go out and do improvements, we make sure we consult with a wide range of people to understand issues. And of course, feedback comes in on a daily basis to our contact centres, and that feedback where we can't action it immediately is logged and recorded, so that when we are in a position to make changes, we can draw on that rich database. We are as staff looking at how we engage with our communities going forwards, whether a project by project approach is the best way to do it, or whether we do need to do something in addition, whether that is a forum, whether that is some sort of a focus group. And that is very much something that we are considering at the moment. So at the moment, there is no formal community forum. However, we are looking to bring something effective into that space as we move forward.
So Chairman, personally, I believe it's going to be resuscitated with urgency, a community forum. Can I urge us, or can you bring a paper back to a subsequent meeting with regards to what we've heard from Oliver as a staff member?
So you'd like that?
Please, a paper on the form and structure of a potential community reference forum, please. I'll be happy to, I don't know if you're happy to move in that direction. So,
I'm happy to take an undertaking to bring back some options around enhanced engagement.
Thank you.
Across the whole region.
I would think so, yeah. And hope so.
Can we, rather than do it as a resolution, are you happy to take?
I'm happy.
Our directors.
I just think there's a degree of urgency on this about engaging these people, as I say, who have lived experiences and would be an invaluable asset to tap into to progress these initiatives.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Isles and then Councillor Neves at the stage.
It was actually Councillor.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just at the page 57 of the Chairman's report, it notes about a regional fares review. Just in regard to on page 34, we're talking about surpluses, and I know it's not much and it'll probably disappear into the ether. But in regard to the stunning increase in the amount of patronage on the buses, with your regional fares review, will you be looking at if there is a slight surplus of dropping the fares slightly to encourage more people to use the buses?
So the fares review is very much route and branch. So it's looking at all options. And one of the tools in the box is our free or heavily discounted fares achieving what we want them to achieve. So yes, it will be looked at amongst other options as well. So staff are very much in the discovery phase on that project. There is likely to be a lot of guidance that we will need from this committee. So expect that conversation to continue over the coming months.
Thank you.
Councillor Neves?
Thank you. I just wanted to express my disappointment that we haven't had a community forum meeting since before COVID. We've had a number of discussions around this table on the importance of a community forum and our desire to have multiple ways of understanding what the community wants and needs in the transport space. So I just want to put my voice behind Councillor Thurston that we please do this with expeditiousness. Thank you.
Thank you. Just in support of staff, we have been asking staff to do a lot of work, and there's a lot of work still in front of us. So as soon as we give another task, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, so don't get me wrong, but as soon as we give another task to staff, it puts pressure on something else, and we're still waiting for our refresh and the fares review. Those are two really big pieces of work that still need to be completed.
But both really are going to rely very heavily on what the public think, and so that's why I think it is so critical.
Thank you, noted.
Just a point of clarification through you, Chair. So I just want to reassure you that through all of those projects, we have been undertaking public consultation, but we've been doing it on a project by project basis rather than having an overarching forum. But I'm hearing loud and clear the desire to do more in that space. So let us bring back some options for you.
Thank you. So moving now on to the on-demand.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, a update for you today on the progress of our on-demand trial. So just very quickly, some background. So the service was launched on the 25th of March, and you'll recall around the same sort of time period, we had a meeting at the PTC. We had a vehicle down for members that were in attendance to see firsthand. So hopefully many of you are aware of the type of vehicle we're using and the quality of those vehicles. The trial is set to run for 18 months, and we're looking to learn about more flexible and sustainable ways of delivering public transport and how they could help us in a Bay of Plenty context. Key features of the trial, we're encouraging people to book through an app. It has a dynamic approach to routing to make the service as efficient as possible. And we've been very careful to make sure we integrate it with our existing public transport network, our fixed route network, as much as we can. So I wanted to share with you some of the material that we've developed to support the trial. I'm sure many of you will have seen the vibrant branding and promotional material that has been around the wider Tauranga area over the past few months, and this is something that our comms team especially have worked very hard on to make sure that this trial is as visible to our community as possible. In terms of our mission statement, how does it work? Well, it operates without fixed routes or timetables. You simply book a ride. The minivan turns up, picks you up. It matches your journey with others heading in a similar direction to ensure an efficient travel for all passengers. And then just to recap on the service zone, as you'll recall, staff did quite a bit of work understanding the size of the zone and the parameters you have to play with. Is the bigger the zone you have, either the more vehicles you need or the longer the average wait time. So we identified that this would be a good location to trial the service, predominantly because Tauranga South, the Lakes and Pies Park are areas that historically have been very challenging to serve with fixed route services. Within that study area, you've got Tauranga Hospital, you've got Fraser Cove, you've got a number of retirement communities, Grierton Centre, Tauranga Crossing, and a variety of different areas. The majority of our customers are interacting with the service through an app. So this is delivered by VIA, a software provider that we've partnered with, and it is a fairly seamless service, a very similar customer experience to using Uber, for those of you that are familiar with that offering. And in terms of pricing, we have aligned it with the B card fare. So if you use your B card, the fare is the same as our fixed route services, and all of the concessions that council services offer are applicable to the trial. There is also the option to pay by credit or debit card through the app. We do charge a higher fare for people paying by credit card, and that is primarily to incentivize people to get a B card, because one, we get better data, but two, if someone's got a B card, they're more likely to consider using our other services as well. So I want to talk you through the comprehensive launch and the comms strategy that we have delivered. When we brought this to the Public Transport Committee for endorsement, the committee was very clear that we needed to comprehensively engage with our communities to make sure people were aware of the trial and knew how to use it. So pre-launch, we had a teaser campaign. You can see that we had the campaign running across multiple channels. So that was media releases, emails. We did letterbox drops to almost 10,000 households in the area, digital marketing, billboards, ad shells. We had staff out doing road shows, including at retirement homes, as well as the website as well. We then had our main campaigns. This was the big bang and the excitement around the launch itself. So we had more letterbox drops, digital and Google marketing. We continued the road shows and also pushed it through the website as well. And you can see from the stats there, the level of interaction that we've had from the community has been very high. We'll be very conscious, and I think this is something that Councillor Thurston mentioned in a previous meeting, that the campaign cannot stop there. And there's a huge piece to educate and support our community with adapting to this new way of travelling. So that's something that's had a lot of focus. We've put together a getting started guide, which has been downloaded over 100 times. We've got FAQs on the website. They've been viewed almost 14,000 times. We've developed how-to content, which has gone out through our digital channels. We're managing the social media. There's a book on behalf service for people that don't want to use the app. And also we've done extensive customer service training with the drivers. Here's just a snapshot of some of the activities we've done, just to embarrass our former director. There's a photo of him and the committee chair with cheesy grins on their face. But you can see some of the collateral we've produced. We've got the ad shell bus stop. We've got a screen grab there from one of our promotional videos. Some of the good press that we've received. Bottom centre there is one of our road shows with a vehicle and staff out engaging with the public at Grierton Library. So you can see that we really have been pushing this through as many channels as we can to engage with as many different demographics as possible. So on to the operational performance. So up to May 24, so this is the 24th of May, we had over 2,000 people downloading the app. So 20% of those have completed at least one ride, 16% taking 2, 8% completing more than 5. So what we're encouraged by there is people are downloading the app and generally using the service multiple times. It's not just a one-hit wonder. So we are tentatively very encouraged by the repeat customers that we're getting. Up to that date, we delivered 4,600 rides, and patronage has steadily increased week by week. And as of the 24th of May, we were delivering 760 rides per week. And the chair alluded to the numbers that we were carrying on the fixed route service that we temporarily suspended during the trial. So we've seen a substantial increase in patronage, especially within the Lakes and Pies Bar area. The app, when journeys are completed, prompts customers to rate the ride. Of those that have done that, 92% of riders rated the service 5 stars out of 5. 95% of all bookings are being done through the app. That is great news for our contact centre. They're only having to facilitate 5% of the bookings manually, so it's keeping the back office efforts down, which was the intention. And 72% of customers are utilising B card over credit card. So it's been great to see that level of adoption using our preferred payment method. In terms of community feedback, generally speaking, it's been incredibly positive. I'm not going to read all of these comments to you. I'm sure you'll get a copy of this presentation after the meeting. Generally speaking, people are really enjoying it. However, the negative feedback tends to be, why haven't we got it in our area? Why doesn't it go here? We were very clear with the boundaries of the trial area. So it's great to see that people are valuing this service and want to see it potentially move. So far it is generally speaking a very good news story. And then I just wanted to end on this particularly nice testimonial that we received. Again, I'll let you read this fully in your own time, but it just shows that people are prepared to embrace the technology. It might be a bit of a voyage of discovery the first time they use it, but our communities are adapting and are appreciating this trial service that we've brought to Tauranga South. Happy to take any questions around the trial.
We're going to start with Mayor Kenya, followed by Councillor Thurston.
Well, firstly, thank you very much. It looks like a really positive report and great to see that it's being used fully and thank the chair for really pushing this. I know it's something you've been very keen on. My question was around the how the routes are chosen each time. Is it a clever algorithm or something, or how does that work?
It is exactly that through you, Chair. So it's an algorithm within the app. So it's developed by a third-party provider. So it takes the right requests and then between the 5 vehicles that we've got, it looks at where the vehicles are and dynamically routes those. And it can change those routes in real time as well. So it is as efficient as it can be. It's a very impressive bit of technology. So that's through our partner, VIA, who have been incredibly supportive. It's worth mentioning that we've also partnered with Mercury, who are providing both the power to power the fully electric vans, and have also been very helpful with the infrastructure with their partner Hicatron.
And have there been any issues around passengers being taken on different routes every day? If they want to do one specific route they do each day, it takes a different route at a different time. Is there any concern about that, or have they just been pleased with that?
Generally speaking, the feedback has been very good. It's all explained clearly through the app. So you will get from A to B. You might just go a slightly different way and perhaps pick someone up. We've invested a lot in the customer service training with the drivers. So the drivers are actively interacting with passengers. So certainly for first-time users are able to explain to them, what's happening, how they're going to travel, and a bit more about the service. We've had some great feedback around the quality of service that our drivers are delivering.
Thank you.
The hospital staff have found it fantastic. It just started off with one trying it and then talking to others, and that's been those sort of people who are winging it, and they don't have to worry about parking a car and whatever. So fantastic. Councillor Neves.
Oh, thank you. Just reflecting on the contribution of Mercury, which has been, amazing that they've come to the party the way they have. Have we got an estimate of the costs that we're avoiding by their sponsorship?
Yes, we do. So that's that number I don't have to hand, but was in the decision paper that went to council. So effectively, we are not paying for the fuel, the electricity for the trial period. That is being provided by Mercury, as well as the charging infrastructure as well. And the charging infrastructure comes at a significant cost, and there are complications and lots of other parties to deal with to get that in place. So it has been a major contributor to getting this trial off the ground.
I think they need recognising, because their support has been absolutely outstanding, including upgrading to even a faster charge system than was originally intended. Councillor Thurston.
Thanks, Chairman. At the end of the day, it is a trial. And as we know, a number of us championed this over many years. And I'm the first to say what a great success it's been, and in particular, throw bouquets at the users and those people who fought for it in the southern suburbs of Tauranga. But Chairman, at some stage, it is a trial, and we know that we were replicating Napier and Hastings, and I think Timaru or South Canterbury was the first place in New Zealand to trial this concept. At some stage, can we get a very brief few paragraphs on how the other trials are operating throughout the country? And I think the Waikato too, Oliver, had it on demand of some form, or does have. Have they also been a raging success? Have they had to tweak the concept? It would be interesting to know, and I think others would find it also.
So through you, Chair, today is a fairly light touch update. But what we are looking to do is probably at the 6-month mark, bring a more comprehensive report back to the committee as to how things are going, including finances as well. That will probably be a good opportunity to do some benchmarking against other New Zealand case studies, noting that all of the applications of on-demand in New Zealand have been slightly different and serve a slightly different market. Some regional councils have completely removed their fixed route service. Hamilton uses it primarily to infill the gap late at night. So our application here in Tauranga South is quite unique. I'm aware we've been talking a lot about partners. The partner that I've failed to mention by name is Riches, who the operator of the service. Again, I just want to congratulate them on the standard of drivers that we've got, but also how collaboratively they've worked with both ourselves and the other partners within the trial. It's been great to see.
Chairman, just a supplementary, because as we were told with regards the other trials around New Zealand, they've been enthusiastically received by the users, but at the end of the year it would come at some considerable cost. So I think we need to prepare ourselves for that also coming our way. So thanks so much.
No, that's recognised. There is a cost factor, and that's what the trial's about, really. Any further questions, clarification, anything? Anybody? That's an opportunity. Our friends in the gallery, if you've got any questions on the on-demand, because it is a unique service, actually. I'm happy to take questions if you do have one. Yeah. You're happy?
From TCC chair, it's absolutely fantastic as well.
So you said that from TCC's, this is a staff view or a staff view, fantastic result.
It's copyrighted, Chairman. It is copyrighted.
No, but we're just recording that for the live feed.
Happy to move the receipt of the Chairman's report.
Okay, we've got it moved. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Mayor Denia. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Now, we're going to move into confidential now before morning tea, so that we can turn off the live stream. So I'll move that we move into confidential. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Thurston. All in favour, please say aye. against carried. So it's morning tea time. Everybody is welcome to morning tea. And we'll have 1/4 of an hour for morning tea.